Hello! In the last video, I analyzed the situation with Bitcoin and highlighted an important point right away. Guys, you shouldn't just look at the title of the video and make trading decisions or ideas based on it. Moreover, at the beginning of the video, there's a disclaimer that I'm just sharing my thoughts. You shouldn't be looking for any financial advice or anything like that. I was surprised by a number of commenters who, as I understood it, based on the title somewhere around here, I recorded the video, right? And it's called How Bitcoin Changed Its Trend. They must have made some trades, apparently, expecting it to go down. Actually, in the last video, I clearly outlined the scenario with a sharp bounce. And the quote was, "The stronger and longer the downward movement, the sharper and stronger the bounce will be." Well, there you go. The bounce happened exactly up to the level from where this drop started. The retest of the level was from below. This confirms the downward trend. We didn't even come close to the moving averages. Here we have the death cross. And right at the retest here is the best exit point, in case anyone is still in the market. Also, somewhere around here we can consider shorting options. In this video, I'll explain this position without repeating the points from the last video, but taking into account the current or market updates. I recommend everyone to create an account on the top exchange being X, and here's why. First of all, they have the lowest trading fees in the market, period. And with that, you can save quite a bit of money every month. The more trading volume you have, the more you'll save. Secondly, for registering through the link below, you'll get up to 30 USDT as a welcome bonus, even without making a deposit. Separately for a deposit up to 500, separately for trading volume up to 500, but even without a deposit it's 30. I absolutely recommend that everyone take advantage of the situation, create an account using the link below, get a bonus of up to 30 USDT, check out the exchange, and the potential savings on fees, and if you want, you can start trading later on. Everyone should create an account. Everyone should get a bonus on the top exchange BingX. I recommend it. The link is below. Sign up. We always have several scenarios for price movement. Where can it go? Well, it can go up. It can go down. It can go sideways, just staying in a range. And actually, as a trader, I don't predict the price going up, sideways, or down. No, I'm considering the options and the likelihood of these options. And based on the idea of how likely a certain movement is, I make my trading decision. So I'm looking for some entry and exit points and always considering several options. So here it is. In the last video, I described several options for what I would do. The priority was a bounce, the formation of a range, further pressure towards the lower edge of that range, and a flash crash down. I described in more detail for 15 minutes why I see this option as a higher priority. And now it still remains a higher priority, since its first part with the rebound has happened. Ideally, I'm waiting for the formation of a range, with further pressure towards the level, and a flash crash down, since there hasn't been any flash crash here. We bounced off the 200 moving average, the trend is downward, there's a double top, a retest of the level, which is the best exit point if, for some reason, you're still in the market. And here, the most likely scenario is indeed a range, why, not any other. Because the option for growth like this is possible when, maybe in a strong market. How strong is the market right now? Well, not as much, just based on Trump's words that they will buy Bitcoin into reserves, but excuse me, he's been talking about this for a long time, and even against that backdrop, there's some kind of double top, there wasn't any vertical spike up. Also, considering that there was pressure towards the 100 moving average, a consolidation below the 100, and then we dropped down with a retest, moving down steadily over several days, which actually didn't happen. I was expecting a flash crash, but that didn't happen. I mean, I'm referring to the previous few months, maybe even a year, when Bitcoin was falling sharply after breaking key levels. It happened instantly. It happened quickly. Not gradually over several days, just steadily dropping on the 5-minute chart with small pullbacks. That hasn't happened. This means that the market has changed, and this is one of the signals for a trend reversal. So, I'm not considering a scenario with growth, but if I happen to be wrong, there is a small probability of such a movement. Maybe 2-3%, or maybe 5%. In that case, what will I do? Well, I will rely on the mark of this level at $100,000. Within the framework of my scenario, Bitcoin cannot come out here, but if suddenly it does, then this mark will mean that I was wrong, that it is the end of my previous ideas of analysis. This mark is a good point to set a stop loss just above it if you're shorting right now, or this mark will be a good entry point to not miss this movement. That is, I will remind you that I did not exit here, I exited the market on the 16th. And it doesn't matter whether I exited here or would exit now. If the price comes back to this level, I would consider the option to re-enter the market with the aim of some kind of breakout and a further surge. But I think such a movement is practically impossible. As for the option of sliding down, it's much more likely, incomparably more likely than the option of rising. Why? Because after sharp bounces, we usually see, well, not always, but in the overwhelming majority of cases, the price slides down and makes new lows. Let me give you a few options, a few examples. It is desirable to open a chart like this with past historical data. Yes, well, here we have a strong fall, after which a rebound and the price slides down, in this case with updating the bottom. Let's have a rebound somewhere after the fall. Here it is a fall, here a sharp rebound. The price slides down with updating the bottom. Here this was not there, but this is apparently a unique year where a lot of money was printed to everyone in a row. This does not count. Drop, bounce, slide down, making new lows. This has really turned into a downward trend. After a drop, a strong bounce is needed. Well, it's not significant, but even small bounces you see after drops make new lows. Here's a small bounce after the drop making new lows. But these are all historical data. Let's take a look at the current market realities. Let's take some altcoin, I don't know. There are really no bounces here. Well, there it is, the bounce, and we've made new lows. Let's take a look at something of better quality. Well, let's take a look at the altcoin here. Well, there's a pretty strong bounce after the drop, and we've made new lows. The bounce after the drop made new lows, but this is a sideways market with high volatility. It's not even worth looking there. A small bounce after the drop made new lows. Here, the bounce has already rounded off. Let's not look at the current chart directly, but a little to the left, so we can see the past. Now it's clear that the altcoin is weak compared to Bitcoin. Bounce. Well, there was actually a retest here, a slightly different scenario. Well, why not something different? Right now, there's also a retest for Bitcoin. Yeah, there it is, a bounce with a retest. And here we're not just sliding down and making new lows, but we actually drop down instantly. In general, there are many scenarios like this, and over the last 10 months or so, I've traded quite a few of these scenarios on the 5-minute chart, where there was a bottom, a sharp rise, and then a slide down, making new lows. For this reason, such a scenario is very likely, but it's less likely than a sideways market. What to do in the case of sliding down and making new lows? Honestly, I don't know, since this is an absolutely unpredictable movement. If there's a slide down here, making new lows, anything could happen next. There might be a formation of a bottom, followed by a further bounce. There might be a formation of a bottom, some kind of false breakout, and a retest of that bottom. So I wouldn't want to see this scenario because it's the most unclear and it's not obvious how to trade within it. The most understandable, obvious, and likely scenario is the formation of a bearish continuation pattern, with stop losses for all those traders and investors who bought at the highs with record volumes at these levels because they didn't manage to exit here. Well, some people might have partially exited right at the lows, but there wasn't really any kind of abnormal volume there. In general, everyone who bought here, including, by the way, those who bought during this drop because there was some volume here, well, if you add it all up, there was still some present. They all need to pull the stop losses for something. And those who bought right at the very bottom will even be in profit if this kind of chart formation happens, like I drew. And it is precisely after this that a flash crash should occur. So some kind of flash crash is necessary here. There should be some sharp exit of investors and traders who bought at the highs. There wasn't a sharp exit here. So, in my opinion, these same guys bought this movement. On the news, with statements from Trump, they drew a bounce with a retest. This doesn't affect the trend change back to upward, and most likely they'll support it in some kind of a backtest. Why in a backtest? Why? Still, this scenario is more likely than a further slide down. Since there is strength here, well, like based on the news. It looks pretty sketchy because there's news today and tomorrow it's gone. Everyone in the market has forgotten about this, and now the slide is happening. In fact, technical analysis is based on the idea that everything is already reflected in the chart, all the probabilities, all the market bets, and so on. And I don't pay much attention to the news background when trading, so I didn't know about Trump's words, but I knew there should be a sharp bounce after this kind of movement. So actually you can check that out in the previous video. So it happened. Yeah, they tied it to the news, but in any case, there was some interest from the market at this moment. The seller, as you can see from this sharp movement, is no longer here. So the seller has already sold everything they wanted over these past few days. So the selling pressure here isn't that strong anymore. There is some buyer interest here. In the past, overall, we see that even in the recent past, setups like this are absolutely similar. Nothing interfered, no data or arguments stopped this price slide, but now the situation is still unique. And I think we shouldn't slide further, at least I hope so. Why? Because if I'm right, a sideways market is forming here, and it's very clear how to make a lot of money from it. Once again, with a push to the level, with stop-loss hunting, with a flash crash. And just to remind you, I'm waiting for Bitcoin to reach a price in the range of $72,000 to $75,000, and that's where I plan to buy it back. As for altcoins, things are not looking good. You can see that they have also risen. At the moment of this bounce, they were even stronger than Bitcoin. But today, just a day later, all of this growth, all of this spike has been neutralized. This is the chart of altcoins' performance against Bitcoin. Yeah, they bounced back stronger during the rebound, they jumped higher than Bitcoin overall, but today they also fell harder than Bitcoin did. And by the way, if you think this is a bull market, let's take a look at a number of coins. Does a bull market look like this? No. Does a bull market look like this? No, it doesn't look like that. Does a bull market look like this? No, not at all. Does this look like a bull market? Absolutely not similar. As for not some random shitcoins, but regarding the top coins, well, we saw ADA spike sharply. It was a priority when Trump announced that he also wants to buy ADA for the US balance sheet. But how bullish is the market if the so-called strongest coin from yesterday is falling 15% harder than everything else today? Well, yes, it has risen a lot, obviously a strong pullback, but in a bull market, the strongest coin falls the most at the moment of pullback. No, not at all. In a bull market, a strong coin falls less than the weak ones. This kind of pullback is typical for a sideways market, and it could also indicate a weak market, but whether it's the first option or the second doesn't say anything about potential. It either suggests the formation of a sideways market or a slide, updating the bottom. I'm hoping for a sideways market because that scenario is clear. It might be a bit less likely, but in the possible scenario of a slide, we'll think about how to trade in the moment. But regarding my positions, I exited from spot. I'll be entering lower. As for my futures trades, you can follow them on other social media where I provide more content. Links below: Telegram, Instagram. Now is a good time to short the bet. Well, that's a good point, but I can't say that with the aim of taking it into some shorts. No, everyone trades as they wish, but I'm stating my position that I'm looking for an entry point to short here. I made a series of trades over the last 5 minutes, including making some profit on this bounce. Right now, I'm not in a short position with a stop here, but I'm keeping an eye on the option. Maybe if we keep tightening between these two levels, I might even enter with a smaller stop and a bigger leverage, but we'll see. In general, I'll talk about this in my stories. Follow me on other social media. Just a reminder, the link is below. Thank you. Good luck.